welcome back to Beating a Dead Horse. As always, I am your host, Sean McKinda.
And I'm your host, Jackson Keller, trying not to burp midway through the recording because, I always eat before starting these for some stupid reason.
And welcome back to Beating a Dead Horse. We're apparently going to talk about our bodily issues. Just the most appealing introduction we can possibly think about.
Well, now that we got all the scrubs out, the true fans here, we got a great movie for you today.
Oh, yes. So first and foremost, we should apologize because we're just going to come out and say it. We did not get a chance to watch this movie together. We instead spent way longer than the How Long to Beat said would take us to beat Metal Wolf Chaos XD. Come back next week. We're going to talk about that property. I'm just going to say that for right now. I don't want to give too much away about our feelings. So we didn't actually get a chance to watch this together. And boy, what a bummer that is, because we watched Serenity, and it is a lot. It is a movie. It is a fucking film.
Honestly, what can I even say about this movie before the spoiler section?
Yeah, we're riding a tricky line here. Because I'm going to tell our audience who might not have seen this movie what I knew about it before going in, and then I'm going to tell you to go watch it. We have regularly said, hey, don't watch a movie until, don't listen to our spoilers until you've watched the movie, all that good shit. I cannot stress this any more with this movie, that you have to watch it before you listen to our spoilers, because it is the most buck wild fucking movie. I'm going to read the description off the back of the Blu-ray, and I'm going to tell you that there is a twist about halfway through, around the beginning of the third act, that is the most batshit insane thing you will fucking see in a movie, because you will not see it coming. And however, knowing that there's a twist arguably makes the first half of the movie better.
I will definitely argue this, because before Sean reads the blurb, I knew almost nothing. I knew even less than Sean did. All he said was, hey, we're going to watch/talk about Serenity on the podcast. And I'm like, okay, what is that? And all he said was a weird movie that Film Twitter was talking about for a while. So I had this, and I had the blurb, the shorter, Amazon Prime blurb. And all I could say is I think Sean had the better viewing experience, knowing that there was indeed a twist. And I can explain why after spoilers.
Yes. So, as Jackson said, there's an Amazon description of this because it's available on Amazon Prime for free viewing. So if you have Amazon Prime still and you want to watch Serenity, there's your free way to do it.
To be clear, this is the Matthew McConaughey Serenity, not the Firefly Serenity.
Yes, it's Serenity 2019, not Serenity 2005 or whatever the fuck the Firefly Serenity came out on. So let me tell you what you need to know about Serenity. There's a twist, and from the creative mind of Oscar nominee Stephen Knight comes a daringly original, sexy, stylized thriller. Baker Dill, Academy Award winner Matthew McConaughey, is a fishing boat captain leading tours off a tranquil, tropical enclave called Plymouth Island. His quiet life is shattered, however, when his ex-wife Karen, Academy Award winner Anne Hathaway, tracks him down with a desperate plea for help. She begs Dill to save her and their young son from her new violent husband, Jason Clarke, by taking him out to sea on a fishing excursion, only to throw him to the sharks and leave him for dead. Karen's appearance thrusts Dill back into a life he'd tried to forget as he struggles between right and wrong. That is what the back of the box says. It's not a lie. But it leaves off some pretty major details about what this movie is. And I just to kind of further explain why I chose this movie. I actually remember seeing trailers for this movie in theaters around the time that it came out and thinking to myself, that looks interesting. I'm kind of vaguely interested in seeing it. finding out what it's about. Like, it looks a little bit thriller-y, which at the time I just wasn't feeling. I wanted something a little bit lighter, so I kind of put it off and didn't ever watch it. I deeply regret that. And B, this movie, everything about this movie, if you just search Serenity 2019, does a wonderful job of hiding what it actually is. It's impressive.
It would be legitimately impressive, and I guess still is if the movie were actually good. But I guess part of the reason that it's so well hidden and that not talked about is because nobody cares. So this is truly the twist dilemma.
Yes. Oh god. This movie is so hard to talk about pre-spoiler discussion because there is so much to talk about after the twist, but not a lot to talk about beforehand.
I'll say this. I'll say I think this is pretty safe pre-spoiler thing to say. Now that we know that there's a before time and an after time.
Yeah, there's the period in your life before you have watched Serenity, and there's the period in your life after you have watched Serenity. And those are very distinct parts of your life.
You can never go back. So watch this with great caution.
I have, no lie, spent a good chunk of my day thinking about Serenity. And, like, I am not fucking kidding. I actually have. I have been thinking that I need to watch this movie again, and I saw it last night. I saw it under 24 hours ago, and I'm like, I need to watch this movie again.
So I said I'd talk a little bit about why I think it's okay to alert people to the fact that there is a twist. And I think I can frame it in a way that is well within the parameters that we've established. So the pre-twist part of this movie felt like a fake movie. In fact, Sean, in our pre-discussion, I described it as like a fake movie they'd make for a better movie, as like a satire. But I realized what it actually feels like, and what it actually feels like are the 513 Productions pre-Future World trailers that we saw.
Yes! Oh my god, it totally does.
It feels like one of those movies where you're like, because it's so like boilerplate and cliche and yet has such like big names and stars, and it's like who the fuck was responsible for this? So
it also features the same kind of like over directing that those style of movies has.
Yes, definitely. Like, there's an opening shot of like a big fish, and I'm like, oh, whoa, Nelly. However, I think that I wasn't really on board the Serenity train until the twist, partially because, and I don't want to speak completely for you here, Sean. I'll let you give your own 2 cents, but I feel like knowing that there's a twist, that effort of trying to figure out what's going to happen and like looking for details, only to fail horribly in the face of an unfeeling god known as Serenity that cares not for your desires in the face of its chaotic screenplay.
You will not guess the twist.
Like, I think that's more of an experience than just when I thought, like, there was still quite a while in the movie, I'm like, all right, Sean, why are we watching this? Like, it's bad. And, like, I'd say exceptionally so given the caliber of the talent involved, but it's definitely not like this isn't like a Tommy Wiseau production. Like, there are funny moments, not the least of which is the fact that the main character goes by Baker Dill. But like,
oh my god, and why he goes by Baker Dill is so good too.
It's incredible. But like, God, I'm just really burning to just shout the twist just right now. Sean, you take it away from me.
Oh, all right, yeah. So there's definitely something to be said for being able to spend the first half of the movie going, wait, is this the twist? Is this what's happening? Is this what this movie is trying to do? Especially because it works really well with trying to kind of like work out how this plays into the themes that it seems like it's trying to have.
Oh, there are themes, all right. I don't know if the story knows what they are, but there certainly are themes.
Yeah. So like it's it's a wild time to try and do that. Scott Wampler, who is someone that we've mentioned multiple times in the podcast, Daddy Scott, as he told us to call him on Twitter, has described this himself watching this movie as someone who, sitting there with his head cocked to the side like a dog hearing a noise far away. And that is probably the best way I can describe the first half of this movie, at least in my experience of it. Because not only did I enjoy trying to guess the twist, but I also enjoyed it from just the standpoint of this movie is buck fucking wild. Because it has a budget behind it, but it's still so weirdly over-directed that I absolutely am adoring all the weird little stylistic choices that they do with it. Sam, the girlfriend, would look up occasionally from what she was doing, look over at me, see me sitting there slack-jawed, just silently blinking at the movie and chuckle at me. And I go, what's funny? She goes, you're doing it again. You're just sitting there staring like in shock. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know how else the fuck to react to this movie. Because I loved it. I loved it from start to finish. Undeniably, knowing that there's a twist in it made it better. But like, if you're the right type of person, if you're somebody like me, I think there's a lot of enjoyment to be had even not knowing that there's a twist. Like, I wish I could have done this like Jackson and not known that there was a twist, because I think there's an element of loving it even more if you're a weirdo like me who just enjoys watching weird cinematography.
I guess let me say, getting to the twist and having that, finally knowing the truth of why we were talking about this and everything not falling into place. It was a real it was a real galaxy brain moment. I felt like I'd ascended to a higher plane.
Listen, things don't just not fall into place. Things actively explode outward in a way that they could never be put back. This movie does not make a lick of goddamn sense.
All right. Sean, you tell me if this description of my feelings about the movie post-twist is too spoilery, and we can cut this. But what I feel like the twist in this movie does, it's like they were writing a script for like a D-grade Gone Girl, and then they crumpled up the screenplay and threw it into the garbage about 2/3 of the way through.
No, that's a pretty fair assessment of it, honestly. Like, it doesn't totally throw it away, but like it throws away a vast majority of the script. It's just like, yeah, never mind, we're doing something else now. Which, that's what most twists do, but most twists manage to recontextualize the first half. This twist does not. Can we talk about the twist now?
All right, it's time to talk about the twist. All right, you've been warned.
Please go watch this movie first. I cannot stress enough, because we're going to spoil it pretty much as soon as I'm done talking about Metal Wolf Chaos XD, which we're talking about next week. Come back. That's going to be a live episode over at twitch.tv/helpless_Skippy. We'll be doing that at 9, like the usual time. We have a lot of thoughts about Metal Wolf Chaos, and I'm very excited to talk about it in depth, because that game is fucking wild in a lot of ways.
We're having quite the month here during this August try spell.
Oh god, this month is buck wild, I'll tell you what. And you know what's really fucking buck wild? The fact that Serenity is a goddamn video game. What the fuck?
Surprise, Chappie Island.
We've done it. What is life? What is sentience? It doesn't matter. We're not going to answer either of those questions. We're not going to answer anything. What is the point of this movie? Who fucking knows? Who goddamn even remotely knows? This twist does absolutely nothing for the movie but make you stand up and go, what the actual shit is going on here?
So I feel like I've said this on a previous episode of the podcast, but I feel like it needs to be said again for posterity. I feel like me and Chappie, we're Batman and the Joker. I feel like we're destined to do this forever, because nothing makes me rage quite like an AI twist. And And the fact that this one caught me so completely by surprise made it all the more infuriating. Like, as soon as he was talking about the rules in the game, I'm like, no, don't do it. And then they did. They went full Chappie. They did it.
And listen, we need to clarify something here, too. We did not know that this was a Chappie movie. Like, the Chappie shit is a meme amongst this podcast. Like, we make jokes about it all the fucking time. We did not go into this knowing what this was. I wanted to go into this as dark as physically possible, and I did it. Jackson was in even further in the dark on this one.
Yeah, I honestly, like, it, just from the information that I had, like, Chappie would have been, like, among the furthest off the mark things that I would have done. It's a fucking video game. Matthew McConaughey's are so. Can we let's clarify? It's not just a video game. This is a video game of a 13-year-old boy, genius programmer, who has reconstructed his dead dad into a fisherman's island to kill his stepdad and fuck his mom.
I'm just going to let that sit there because, honest to God, I have no idea what else to add. That is entirely what this is.
And so as far as recontextualizing things, I mean, I don't know if we want to dive into this right now, but there are several implications that this twist has on earlier plot elements.
I think before we dive into that, I kind of want to talk about, like, my thought process leading up to this twist. Just because I mentioned that I knew that there was a twist, and I spent the entire time. You said that Chappie came out of fucking left field for you. I was not expecting the video game thing myself either, because I never would have assumed. Did we already say that Matthew McConaughey is dead? Did you include that, or did you say that he made?
I think I said he was dead, but he is dead. In case I didn't,
he got killed in like Iraq or something like that. Wild. That he remembers seeing his body parts in the sand. I don't know what that means, even a little bit, but it's something that fucking Dill over here is constantly talking about.
Sorry, just to quickly confirm, did you, like, keep looking at his arms and legs to see, like, if he had, like, a robot hand or something? Because I did, and kept getting confused.
No. I had assumed that, like, when he was talking about that, like, he had seen, like, one of his war buddies blow up or something.
I thought that's what he was saying, too, at first, but I feel like there were a couple of lines where I'm like, wait a minute, is he talking about himself? I think it was when the wife said that they were broken, their bodies were broken in different ways. That was the line, and I'm like, does he have, like, a Skeletor leg? Like, what's going on?
Oh my god, if only he had a peg leg!
Sorry, continue your thought. I just wanted to make sure.
Listen, this is going to be one of those episodes, I can tell you this right now, because, like, my mind is going about 10,000 miles a minute, and I have no idea where to even begin talking about this. So we're going to say this right now. This episode is a fucking mess intentionally, because
form follows function here. We emulate the content that we watch, and boy howdy is this movie a fucking mess.
So, the lead up to the twist, as I said, Sam and I were trying to guess it, trying to figure out what was going on here. And, like, they established that, like, the kid's into computer stuff, but, like, you never once think that this is a video game simulation. Like,
They do, but I didn't think it was in a video game simulation, but I thought some dumb bullshit was gonna happen because early in the movie, there's, like, that thing with the water, like Matthew McConaughey, like, spills.
I'm getting there.
Okay, yeah, no, I thought we were talking about like a mind meld, like Evangelion, Pacific Rim, father-son bond sort of thing.
Yes, because that's what we started to debate. Is we were on the boat that the fucking Fontaine Fisheries salesman was his son from the future coming back to tell him not to kill the Jason Clarke, the violent husband. I don't know what the fuck his name was. So, like, that's what we were on. That was the type of bullshit that we were on. He also, like, he talked to his son through water at some point, and then, like, his wife's like, he can hear you when you talk to him, and we're like, what the fuck does this mean? Is the son psychic? What is the son trying to do here? What is happening? What is the accomplishment? So, like, there's so many other things to think about. Like, if you go into this knowing that there's a twist, the fact that it's a video game world is buried behind so many other more obvious things that feel like they would make more sense within the context of the movie. And if you go into this without knowing that there's a twist, the fact that it's a video game world comes so far out of left fucking field that there's no goddamn way in hell anyone could go into this movie and be like, oh, it's obviously a fucking AI situation.
No one's gonna point to the screen and say that's Chappie until it's too late.
And Chappie is already all of us. We're all Chappie.
It's an island full of Chappies, maybe including Matthew McConaughey. Because it's never quite clear whether Matthew McConaughey is the player avatar or it's all just like a program. Because they're insistent about the terminology of game, which would seem to imply that Matthew McConaughey is the player character. But after the kid rebuilds the game so he could like live a peaceful life with the kid, like it seems to imply that Matthew McConaughey is his own entity and it's more like The Sims. Like he's got his little sim town.
But like, here's the thing. Does the rebuilding of the town actually happen, or is that like in their head? Because like fucking Matthew McConaughey's like all excited to talk to his kid again, but like it makes no sense as to why he would be excited to talk to his kid again. Why he's not real.
Well, Sean, you've fallen for Chappie's trap.
Quick editor's note: we should specify that this trap of Chappie is better known as Chappie's Trappy, and we are remiss in not calling it as such. We apologize to anyone hurt by our callous mistake.
If he's got a consciousness, if he's got a personality, of course
he doesn't have a consciousness.
But I think he might.
Fucking Chappie though, because like Chappie is clearly scripted AI that's supposed to like emulate a consciousness, and like that's way more about asking the questions of like, do we have consciousness? Like, what is our scripted AI?
But Matthew McConaughey asked the same questions.
Fuck you.
No, that's what's super weird about like the video game construction is that like obviously they're going for like we mentioned this in pre-discussion, heavy BioShock vibes.
Yeah, like, the problem. All right, hang on. I'm cutting you off because I just came back around to being able to explain what my fucking problem is.
All right, go for it.
My fucking problem is that it feels way too much like Matthew McConaughey is the player avatar of his son. Which immediately invalidates the fact that he has his own consciousness.
But if he's the player avatar, I mean, I guess that would explain their like communications bond. But also, like, if he's going outside of the programming.
When does he ever go outside of the programming?
Well, because that's what Fontaine Fisheries is trying to tell him not to do, to not like steer from the original path. That's why they don't want to kill him. They want him to follow.
Right, but then he says, okay, well, if the creator says that killing is now okay, thus bending the rules of the game, which means that the files themselves have already been updated.
But why would he need to update the files if he's just gonna like go GTA on the family instead of fishing?
Maybe. God, this fucking movie makes no goddamn sense.
So, all right, now this contention, these two interpretations of Matthew McConaughey's character, I just want to step back from this particular debate, which I'm sure we'll come back to.
I was gonna say, this fucking debate is part of your like grand thesis about the fucking movie too.
So, like, let's psychoanalyze this fucking kid who's making this game and see if we can get some sort of coherent themes out of this. And if we can, oh boy howdy, are they some themes. So, you have two possible interpretations, both of which don't speak highly of this kid's character. You have Matthew McConaughey as player character that he is inhabiting in this little like playground that he's made for himself. And you have Matthew McConaughey as like Sim McConaughey. Like he's trying to recreate his dad and watch his dad do stuff. So a major plot point is that Matthew McConaughey has to prostitute himself for gas money.
God. Oh.
which is the funniest cut in the movie, by the way. His first mate says to him at one point, like, what, like, where are you gonna get the money? Like, we're out of money. Like, you just like the movie starts with Matthew McConaughey pulling a knife on some fucking tourists.
Oh my god, I forgot about that too. So much happens in this movie. You forget it is fucking buck. Like, that's what I'm talking about. The first half is so buck wild before the second half even shows its hand. Like, nothing in this movie makes a lick of goddamn sense.
So Matthew McConaughey threatens to stab a dude, and
Do
they
you think the fact that the fish, the big fish in the beginning looks so CGI and bad is foreshadowing?
I'm going to kill you. I've said this on a lot of podcasts. I mean it this time. This is my confession.
Listen, like, am I wrong though? Like,
I think the director wants you to be right. I think that they were hiding behind that. I think you're right.
Because like, there's a couple other times too where the rain just looks really bad.
The bird, that stupid bird in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought that that crossed my mind as well. I'll admit, but I don't want to accept the truth. So, so this kid. Either he is Matthew McConaughey or he's created Matthew McConaughey. In which case, now we have like a fucked up, like, in the second case, we have like a fucked up Age of Ultron chain of events where like father has begets the son who begets the father. It's literally I'm my own grandpa, that song. And then we have player characters. So Matthew McConaughey prostitutes himself. God, we've gotten so far off track.
There's no way to stay on track because every fucking thing that you say about this movie can send yourself to 4 other places.
So, and this says one of two things. One, like, if he is the player avatar, that Caleb, or whatever his name is, wants to be his dad while he fucks, which, ew. And secondly, it could just mean that he wants to recreate his dad as a man who fucks and wants to see him fuck in his digital world, which also, ew. I
can just imagine like him going on a playground and being like, yeah, my dad can beat up your dad. Yeah, well, my dad's a fucking male prostitute.
My dad fucks. Oh my God.
Also, really quick, when fucking he like revealed that he was prostituting himself, did you think the woman was Toni Collette for a second there?
I did for a second, yes.
Okay,
There's some resemblance in the face, but so I mean, this gets even worse when later on Matthew McConaughey has hate sex with his wife, which later we learn is not Matthew McConaughey.
All right, hang on though. Sex is a strong word for what happened there.
All right. He hate fucks his wife.
Fucks is the strong word for what happened there. Because what he does is he goes, poink, sticks it in, goes, I beat him, pulls it out, and that's the scene. There's not like an implication that they actually had sex. Like, he literally, like, you could tell that there's like half a second where he puts it in, like 3, 4, 5 thrusts somewhere in that vicinity, and then just like, nope, we're done. Never mind. I win. Ha ha ha. What does that mean?
Get cut, Jason Clarke. So this introduces another aspect of the boy's tortured psyche, is that either he wants to cuck his own stepdad with his mom that he hates and explicitly doesn't talk to, or he wants to watch his dad do it, which, ew. But he hates his mom so much, like, you're right, there's even more profound implications because of this, because the kid hates his mom so much that he doesn't even want her to have the pleasure of a hate fuck. He's got to have the upper hand, because he's too good for this sinful earth chap dad.
I'm sorry, I'm just kind of reeling in my seat a little bit here, trying to wrap my head around anything. And once again, I have been thinking about this all fucking day, and I am still reeling from literally every, like, I will start at a place, move about 2 steps, and be like, wait, what the fuck? That is a terrifying implication. Like, I'm still hung up on the fact that he points it in her, makes some crack about how he wins, and then stops. Like, what does that mean?
Sean, there's so much ground to cover. We gotta move on.
I can't. I cannot. I am so hung up on this line. It is the most buck wild lie. It's I beat him or something. I think it's I beat him. I think it's I beat him. And like, is the implication that this fucking dude has never had sex with his wife? Is that the implication there? What, you beat him how? In what context did you beat him? How is this winning? And no, if it was Anne Hathaway saying I beat him, sure, that makes sense. You convinced Matthew McConaughey to kill your husband, who's a shithead to you, undeniably. But when it's Matthew McConaughey saying I beat him, he also doesn't seem to have that much of a care about fucking her husband. And like he's done. He's like, all right, that's in the past. I'm over it. I don't care anymore. Like, why does he care about beating the husband? He cares about his son, and his son has nothing to do with having sex with his ex-wife.
Unless the son's the one who made the program.
But why?
Because Oedipus complex. No. All right. So here's another thing. So the moral. What is the moral of the story here? Like, let's get down to brass tacks.
Well, before we do that, can we talk about the ending really quick?
Yes.
Because this is something that's been kind of bothering me.
Okay.
So, like, it seems like the ending is really going to hinge on whether Dill Pickles, headcanon. This is Rugrats. This is the Rugrats extended universe. This is Dill fucking Pickles.
Dill's life went real wrong. He didn't get the help that he needed. As shown in All Grown Up, where he has several voices talking to him in the head.
Dill, my dude, you got to go see fucking Dr. Bob. I'm really disappointed we never saw Dr. Bob.
We never did see Dr. Bob.
Okay, so the ending basically kind of sets it up. Like, what's going to happen is either Matthew McConaughey is going to give up and try and catch the fish, realizing that, you know, killing is not the answer, or he's going to kill the husband. My assumption was that by catching the fish, which the fish is named Justice, he would decide to, like, that would prompt the child to decide to kill the other guy, because the other guy, the abusive husband, at one point or other, I don't remember exactly what the reference point was, but somebody makes a reference to killing that husband is justice. Yes. And so, like, it would make sense to me logically that catching the fish is him giving him permission to kill the other guy in real life. Because at this point, we've established, too, that, like, Matthew McConaughey knows he's in a fake world. So what does killing this guy do within the context of this world? Absolutely nothing. So instead he decides...
But that's why it's a chappy, because he realizes that he only is his own world of AI stuff.
I can't with you right now. I need to talk about this ending. I need to... Jackson, okay, you know what the problem with this discussion that we are having is?
What is the problem with this discussion?
The problem with this discussion is that I am still so hung up on, like, the little microcosms of the scenes of trying to understand this movie on a scene-by-scene basis. You have given up on that and are looking at this as purely as a macrocosm.
Meanwhile, I'm a big picture guy. What can I say?
No, you totally are. Like, this is, like, clearly long running in the podcast, because I very much get bogged down by little scenes and, like, looking at them as, you know, further explanations on, like, how the movie fails. I have not fully analyzed one scene enough to be able to expand out to the bigger picture. You're like, well, this is why he's champion. I'm like, no, I'm not prepared to talk about that yet. I need to talk about why the fish catching doesn't make any sense. So, like, what, like, okay, back to the ending. Back to the ending.
I will wait for my Chappie related retorts until you're done.
So, fucking, when he pulls him off the boat, that kind of feels like, you know, giving up on justice. Like it feels like killing him should it be taken as not the answer. because like that's breaking the rules in some way. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, honestly, and that's the problem, is that both solutions feel like the end result should be this boy goes to kill his dad, which I guess there's an argument made of like, oh, he set up a situation in which he predetermines his own destiny, yada yada yada. Fuck you, this movie's not smart enough to do that. So instead we just get this situation where it's nothing. There's no like, he's clearly not going to catch the fish, even though catching the fish feels like the clear thematic, like, end point to this movie. Like, catching justice results in justice, right? What the? I don't even have a conclusion to this. What the fuck?
Well, Sean, I've got one. Are you ready for the Chappie pill?
All right, one last thing before we do.
Okay.
Because I'm sorry, I want you to talk about Chappie. I really do. There's just so many little things. At what point, fucking Dill Pickles picks up his coffee mug and takes a swig of like alcohol or something and is like, "Oh, kitten, I miss you," referring to his child. It makes it very much seem like the fish that he's trying to capture killed his son. Like, his son accidentally hooked some giant tuna, the tuna pulled him under, and that's the end of his son. That doesn't go anywhere.
No, that's what I thought as well. Maybe the filmmakers thought it was a fake out, but it wasn't. It was just confusing. Also because the word kitten is heavily associated with Matthew McConaughey prostituting himself, which in hindsight I guess makes sense.
Does it?
It makes sense because a child programmer is projecting himself onto male prostitute Matthew McConaughey. So he is in effect also the kitten that the lady, not Toni Collette, keeps calling Matthew McConaughey, and also to collect her actual cat, who is a black cat for no other reason than The Matrix had a famous scene with a black cat.
So what we're saying is that Dill Pickles is the player character and in fact not a Chappie AI.
No.
I played the long con and trapped you.
You have not, because I chose my words very carefully there. I said projects himself onto, not necessarily control. So here's my ironclad argument for why Matthew McConaughey is Chappie. And by ironclad, I mean as ironclad as you're ever going to get with Serenity 2019, which is to say not ironclad at all. So God, where do I even go with this?
There's too much. There is too much.
Oh,
The entire problem with this fucking movie is that there's too much to even find a starting point for it.
Justice, right, the fish. Okay,
justice.
So, the thing about Justice is that he's chasing the fish, and that's his original programming. He exists to chase the fish, but we... It's Chappie. It could more clearly be Chappie. All right, no. So,
because Chappie's also known for chasing fish, clearly.
So, he chases the fish. Like, that is the central dilemma. But like the morality of what's going on here is very confusing, particularly because it's never outright clear what exactly is happening here. So, like, if Matthew McConaughey is not Chappie and he is the player character, why
then
is he?
Who is Chappie? Someone has to be Chappie.
Someone has to be Chappie. This is about computers.
There
Someone's
has
fucking
to be
Chappie.
a Chappie.
There's only room for one Dill and one Chappie.
Listen, there's always a girl. There's always a lighthouse. There's always a Chappie.
So, like, that's the thing, is that Matthew McConaughey, like, the ending where the world is recreated, like, first of all, so let's let's get even further removed. We're already too deep in the weeds here. So to talk about the morality of what's going on, we have to talk
First, we have to talk about parallel universes.
First, we have to talk about parallel universes. By parallel universes, I mean presumably the real world. You can never tell with this movie, but presumably,
for once, that fucking meme is we're actually talking about basically parallel universes.
We've done it. We've memed it into reality, boys.
Maybe.
So he ends up in real life. The kid kills his stepdad. Now, why does he do that? Well, obviously, because he's a shitter and is abusive and beats his mom and stuff. Okay, sure. What pushed him to do it now in particular? And how does the movie feel about that? So the game. Well, why would the game push him to do a thing like that? Is the moral of the story maybe video games does cause violence? Maybe. Is the moral...
As a quick aside, this fucking movie has almost nothing to say about video games.
But does it? Or is it trying to? Because it's so clearly... I'm not convinced that the one dad, one son, girl in Lighthouse. I'm not convinced that they aren't trying to do a BioShock bit there. And I know, and we were talking about how Fontaine's an Atlas Shrugged thing. But again, it is in theory about games. I would not be shocked if the writer had at least seen or play, maybe not even played, but at least seen BioShock and thought oh, that's about video games and free will and stuff. Because this is very much about free will, one way or another.
It totally is. I just have to zone in on the fucking video game piece for a minute here, because Sam and I actually spent a lot of time talking about whether this movie has anything to say about video games, and I ultimately come up with a big ol' zilch. I think that you could theoretically extract from it was a non-violent video game until he decided to make it violent is something to be said, I guess. But there's nothing backing it up.
Well, but the movie also, I think that's a fair enough interpretation, but the movie also presents that violence as very much a good thing. The movie's triumphant and implies that because of the situation the kid's gonna get off pretty easy and just has to go into
so how is that saying video games cause violence when it's also saying that this video game violence is a good thing?
So I don't think that's what it's saying. I think Matthew McConaughey is a chappy. So in the logic of the universe, as much as we can logic through this, why make this game in the first place and make it as a deciding factor? It seems like all this talk of changing the programming and getting Matthew McConaughey to do a certain thing and veering off course and whether or not he has free will, I think that only makes sense if Matthew McConaughey is an AI reconstruction of his dad. Because, then it's almost like the kid is, trying to, in the absence of his actual father, who is dead, the kid is trying to reconstruct, what would dad do in this kind of simulation? I'm going to try and recreate dad as much as I possibly can, and then kind of mess with the variables to see what kind of outcome happens, and base my decision off of that. And otherwise, why would he I get because he makes the game to be a retreat. He doesn't go outside. He's a genius. And he just wants to fish, and he never does anything violent. And as his stepdad gets more violent, so does he. But why bother recoding the game to do that? If it's not some sort of test as for what he's actually going to do. If all these violent thoughts are just boiling up, surely it makes more sense for him to just go stab the stepdad without reprogramming the whole game.
So I caught up on a word that you said there, or rather a phrase, which is to say that what he is running are simulations. So arguably his dad does not become Chappie and self-aware outside of the context of within the simulation he has to become Chappie and self-aware in order for the rest of the simulation to run. I would argue that continues to be a part of the simulation and not him breaking away from his programming as VR dad. um, Sorry, I literally, like, it's one of those moments where, like, I'm suddenly having, like, a real, actual conversation about this movie with you, and then realize that I'm trying to have a real, actual conversation with you about fucking Serenity.
Fucking Serenity. Well, because this is the heart of the matter. This is the big issue. Is he Chappie?
I don't think he is. I maintain that I think all of this is part of the programming. I think this whole thing is the son setting up basically a coin flip as to whether he should kill his dad.
But surely, especially
actually, hang on, going back there, I did say that, like, basically the son sets up a no-lose situation, which either way he kills his dad. I think the son is basically trying to set up a situation in which he cannot lose and will kill his father. Because if he catches
but why does he need a simulation to do that then?
To give himself the courage, the reason to go through with it. Basically what this is like psyching yourself up for it. Like giving yourself like permission, essentially, is what this is. Like, if you're saying like, I won't do something unless this happens. Like football superstitions, or like, I will have candy after I finish my work, or something like that. It's basically a setup and a reward. So like what he's saying, that if X happens, if dad catches justice, then I will exert justice. If dad kills bad man, I kill bad man as well. Like basically he sets up a no-lose situation for himself in which he gives himself permission to go kill bad man.
But all right. So
I'm keeping all of this silence in, by the way.
No,
as we're both just sitting here going,
Nunny.
Nunny?
All right. So basically, like, for everyone at home, let me be clear. Basically what we're arguing with is that both of these plot constructions are stupid, but which one do we see as the more logical one given the rules of the story? Because like, really, like, we're not arguing over some like grand thesis. We're literally trying to formulate a scenario that makes the movie make any sense at all. And to that,
so hang on, let me step in again here. I'm going to give you some credit here, because I think that in the logic of what the movie is trying to do, I think that assuming Matthew McConaughey is a Chappie is the easiest answer and what feels most like what the movie is trying to do, undeniably. So I think that there's definitely, you're not like way off base by any stretch of the imagination. No, I think arguably you are as on base as you can be. I think the flaw in the logic, and the reason I'm hung up on whether he is a Chappie or not, is because of the no-lose situation of the ending. Because I
don't think you necessarily have to read it as a no-lose situation, though. Like, because I think you can interpret that as, like, what is real justice? Like, would killing him really be justice, or would there be, like, some sort of outside solution? And I think when he decides that killing him is justice.
No, the problem here, though, is that earlier on, there is an equation of catching the fish to killing the dad, because they use this term justice for both of those. So I think that the equation is already there.
So I think that...
God, I love this conversation. I'm sorry. I just need to take it aside here because, like, this is, like, weirdly getting kind of heated in a way, and it's like the fucking best convection we might have ever had.
I was gonna say, this might arguably be the most heated on-air conversation we've ever had. God, I can't even think about what would come close to this. I feel so strongly that he's a Chappie.
I know.
And what I can't get over is, like, just the amount of hoops. Like, I can buy that he would, like, give himself, like, permission to do this, but, like, the amount of hoops to, like, program in awareness of his avatar, to program in someone to tell him he's going outside the programming, to do it in such a roundabout way.
Okay, listen. We haven't even talked about the fact that there's a physical manifestation of the rules, and it's this fucking milquetoast-ass white dude. We have somehow glossed over that.
I mean, he may be the key to all this.
He may be.
All right. Well, no, all right, here we go. Let's take this back to the very beginning and like try to suss out the like logic of the kid.
Okay.
Before we get the murder in, all right?
I hate this so much.
So you have the kid making his escape world, his little AI simulator, whether or not, he inhabits it. And there's definitely like visual evidence to support that, because you do see like him like casting the fishing rod.
He has said that he enjoys playing fishing.
Yeah. So the purpose of this would be to be his escape, which I guess if anything, the movie's pro video games, 'cause it's so clearly pro do what the simulation tells you, which I guess is a whole other like, but so he makes
Okay, wait, hang on. Third option. We're both fucking wrong, and we're just ignoring the fact that Matthew McConaughey is just a player character, and it's just him sucking up the nerd to go kill his dad through killing him in a video game first.
Right, but like I get so hung up on the rules, guy. Like, surely if this was the game,
I think that the rules.
All right, no. We need to step back. We need to step way back.
All right. I'm sorry.
No, so the island would exist as he made it, as his little virtual haven. And then he would have had to introduce his mom and his stepdad on purpose.
Obviously, which this fits on any one of our solutions here.
Yes. So he then introduces the mom and the dad, but the problem is it's not like violence in the simulation doesn't exist pre-mom and dad, unless it's something that like the AI's subroutines aren't capable of. But then because the thing that doesn't make sense with this is that he pulls a knife on that guy for trying to take his fish. Well, one, why would he even program NPCs to cuck him out of his fish? And two, like, why couldn't he just kill them then? If it's a game that he's in complete control of, why would it matter to him?
The problem and the entire crux of this whole fucking thing is that this movie is too caught up with it being a movie. Like, there are things that happen in this movie simply because it is a movie, and this needs to happen in order to show character and be part of the narrative. Not realizing like what the impact it has on the end of the film. Because you're right, the fact that there's those guys in the beginning makes no goddamn context for the rest of the movie. The fact that he is so hung up on catching this justice fish makes no goddamn sense for the rest of the movie, because it's never really even fully explained what this fucking justice fish is. Like, it's clearly a metaphor for killing his dad, like, knowing now like what we know about the end of it. But like, why would there be people that would like try and stop him from doing that?
So, but like, is it necessarily at the start though? Like, because there's a lot of talk.
Then what the fuck does justice mean?
But then it could mean like, the dad coming home from not Vietnam, Iraq. It could mean like, getting to spend one last fishing trip with his son. Like, the idea of what justice was intended to be can form over time. And god damn it, why are we having this serious conversation about Serenity?
God damn it, believe in your own justice, all right? You'll get that next week. Oh, man. Yeah, I honestly, God, I think that the entire problem and why I don't think that we will come to any sort of agreement, because, like, I'm going to speak for you here. I'm going to assume that you see some flaws in your own logic, too. Because,
of course. Absolutely.
Okay, I was going to say, like, there's every single fucking theory that he has put forward, the big three. He is a player character, he is Chappie, he is a simulation. All three of those have giant holes in them caused by other scenes in the movie. Honestly, the movie basically treats him as a simulacrum of all three.
It really does, like, depending on what the scene needs him to be, like, from questioning his own existence to, like, player avatar to, yeah.
And that's the problem, is that this movie is so caught up in being a movie that it doesn't, like, look at the narrative that goes around it. It's caught up in the micro scenes and the loose macro of it. And I think that's why I'm caught up on the micro so much, is because the little scenes play unto themselves, but, like, there's very tenuous grip from scene to scene. It's like Telephone. Like, it starts off as player character, and then it distorts every time it goes a little bit further until it becomes simulation. And then a couple more calls later, and suddenly it's Chappie. So, like, and that's just, like, from scene to scene. Like, scene 1 calls, hi, I'm a player character. Scene 2 calls and goes, hi, I'm a player character. And then voila, suddenly it's simulation.
And then suddenly it's Chappie. You got a Chappie on your hands. This movie's got a bad case of the Chappie.
This movie doesn't, though! Oh, this might be one of my new favorite episodes.
Well, gang, I think we've covered a lot of terrible ground today.
Oh,
the
God.
actual answer to this argument is that this is a terrible movie with a poo-poo screenplay.
It really is, and we spent like 40 minutes yelling at each other about what the fuck this movie means, and the answer is nothing. This movie means nothing. I'm going to watch it again.
Folks, if you've somehow made it all the way to the end of this without having seen it, you really got to see it for yourself. In fact, we should do a poll. Is he an Avatar or is he Chappie? We should do a poll after a certain amount of days.
I'm gonna run a poll on this one because I don't know. I think we have all presented our argument. We both presented our arguments in a very coherent, cogent way. And the only thing left is up to interpretation.
Well, Serenity is like all great art in that way.
Oh my God. All right. Is there anything else we want to talk about before we end here?
I think we got to leave it on that open question.
I think I'm Sean McKinda. Honestly, I don't know myself anymore. Theoretically, you can find me on Twitter at Sean_McKinda, on Twitch at twitch.tv/helpus_Skippy, and you can find a bunch of writing, including Preacher recaps, Invader Zim reviews. I'm doing more video game stuff, all over at 25yearslatersite.com. I think.
And I'm Jackson Keller. You can find me over at twitch.tv/JacksonJKeller, where maybe I'm playing video games, maybe I'm a guy playing video games. Maybe this isn't the highest level, the simulation, real makes you think.
Makes you think. Makes you think about things like BADH_cast on Twitter, where you can get updates on what we're playing, what we're doing, everything like that. Keep you posted on all sorts of news and details pertaining to us. And if you want to get in contact with us, the best way to do so would be to go support us on Patreon and get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord. That's at patreon.com/BADHcast. There's no underscore on that one. And it's $1 a month. That's literally $1 a month, and you can come yell at us more personally on Patreon. At $5 a month, you get access to all our bonus episodes. We've got some real fucking bangers in there. Please go listen to them. And at $10 a month, you can choose our bonus episodes. And you get a little something to go with it.
That is, if you're real, which you're not. But thank you to the fictional Travis, Julia, Mom, and Summer.
Oh, did your mom watch this movie with you? Because we skipped the mom
No,
quarter.
she did not. She was out and about today.
Oh, God, I would kill for a mom quarter on this one, honestly.
I suspect she would be kind of into this, actually.
Well, thanks as always to Lords of the Highway with the use of our theme song. It is Suicide Alternate Takeoff. They have High Octane, Low Expectations. They're a great band. They're on Spotify, all the other places you can get music. Go listen to them. Go buy their albums, go support them in any way you possibly can. Also, thanks to 25 Years Later Site.com for the endorsement. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's a great site with a ton of really cool people doing a bunch of really cool writing. We got analysis, you got reviews, you got news about upcoming movies and stuff. Editor Sean here. I did weird things at this point that nobody ever should want to hear. Editor Sean here. I did some terrible and weird things with my voice at this point that I'm just not gonna let see the light of day. And finish up by saying that 25 Years Later Site also has some incredible interviews that you should go read. That was fucking awful. You should come back next week, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, over at twitch.tv/Shelbles_Skippy, where we're going to be talking about Metal Wolf Chaos XD. There's a lot to talk about in that game.
We're going to be talking a lot about justice in that episode, too.
A lot about justice, a lot about the President of the United States.
Believe in your own justice, Sean.
God bless you, Michael Wilson. Bye.
Don't you go into the ground. Don't you go